Welcome back, everyone, to another exciting and fascinating journey into the incredible world of rare and valuable coins. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most intriguing stories in American coinage, a story that connects history, craftsmanship, mystery, and astonishing value beyond imagination. We are talking about the 1988 Liberty Lincoln 1-cent coin, a simple penny to most, yet one that has shocked collectors and experts around the world because of its unbelievable estimated worth of $32 million. Yes, you heard that right. A coin that once had a face value of just 1 cent, now valued at over $32 billion, all because of the secrets it holds, the errors it carries, the minting anomalies, and the historical circumstances that make it one of the rarest and most valuable coins ever discovered in the world of numismatics. Imagine holding an ordinary-looking 1988 Lincoln penny in your hand. The kind you've seen thousands of times in your life, with Abraham Lincoln's proud profile on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Now imagine realizing that this exact coin is not just an old piece of copper-coated zinc, but a multi-million-dollar treasure because of subtle differences invisible to most eyes. That's where the magic of coin collecting begins, where patience, curiosity, and knowledge turn something common into something extraordinary. This 1988 Liberty penny tells a story of transition, change, and minting evolution in the United States Mint that went unnoticed by the public for decades, until coin enthusiasts discovered that certain 1988 coins held the key to one of the rarest die varieties in Lincoln cent history. The 1988 Lincoln cent was minted during an era of change. It was produced primarily at the Denver Mint, marked with the familiar D Mint mark below the date. That D mark itself, though, can sometimes carry differences that make certain coins incredibly valuable. But what really makes some of these coins worth fortunes are the remarkable minting errors and die mix-ups that occurred behind the scenes during their production. These mistakes have given birth to a class of coins known as transitional errors, coins that accidentally used dies intended for another year or design, creating hybrids that were never meant to exist. In the case of the 1988 Lincoln penny, the most famous and valuable version is the 1988 coin with the 1989 reverse design. This means that while the obverse side-to-side with Lincoln's portrait shows the 1988 date, the reverse side actually features a design element that didn't officially appear until the next year. The easiest way to identify this incredibly rare variety lies in a small detail in the Lincoln Memorial. On normal 1988 pennies, the initials FG representing Frank Gasparo, the designer of the Lincoln Memorial reverse, are in a specific location and have a distinct shape. But on the rare transitional variety, the FG is positioned differently, reflecting the new reverse die introduced in 1989. This small design change, unnoticed by mint workers at the time, created one of the most famous and valuable minting mistakes in U.S. coinage. Now, think about this for a second. Millions of 1988 pennies were struck, distributed, and circulated across America. But out of those countless coins, only a few bear this elusive and priceless error. These rare transitional 1988 cents have been found in pocket change, coin rolls, and even old collections. Their discovery has caused waves of excitement among collectors, each new find reigniting the fascination with the 1988 Liberty Lincoln cent. Some examples have sold for thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars at auction. But the rarest of all, in perfect uncirculated condition, is estimated by collectors and experts to be worth over $32 million due to its historical rarity, condition, and the unmatched uniqueness of its minting error. What makes these coins so mysterious and fascinating is that they are not simply error coins, they are witnesses to the transition of design, the precision of minting machinery, and the occasional human oversight that creates numismatic legends. Imagine a mint worker in 1988 preparing dies for the new production year, unaware that one reverse die from 1989 had accidentally been paired with a 1988 obverse die. The result was a handful of coins bridging two different minting years, a blend of history that escaped the mint unnoticed. When you study one of these coins under magnification, you begin to see how minute details define its value. The curvature of the FG, the spacing of the letters, the placement of Lincoln's jacket lines, and even the texture of the memorial columns all carry clues to its identity. For the average person, these details are invisible. But to the trained eyes of collectors and experts, they are signatures of authenticity that turn a regular penny into a priceless artifact. The 1988 Lincoln cent, in particular, holds even more intrigue because the Denver Mint was known for mass production efficiency. Billions of pennies rolled out from its presses, each struck with industrial precision. Yet somewhere within that ocean of coins, a few escaped that broke all the rules of consistency. When one of those coins surfaced, it stunned the collecting community. Experts rushed to examine it, confirming that indeed, this was a legitimate minting error, a coin struck with a mismatched die pair. That realization made history. Now let's go deeper into why such errors occur. Minting is a complex process. Each coin begins as a blank metal disc, known as a planchet. These planchets are fed into presses that strike them with immense pressure, imprinting the obverse and reverse designs simultaneously. Each press is fitted with dies, one for each side, that must match perfectly in year, design, and mint mark. When dies are replaced or prepared for a new year's coinage, they are stored, cataloged, and managed carefully. But in rare instances, confusion or oversight can cause an older or newer die to be used in error. Sometimes the differences between designs are so subtle that the mistake goes unnoticed until the coins are already released into circulation. For collectors, these transitional errors are treasures. They capture a moment when human error met mechanical precision, creating something unintended yet perfect in its rarity. The 1988 Liberty Lincoln penny with the 1989 reverse is one of the finest examples of this phenomenon, but it's not the only variety. Other minting issues, such as double dies, off-center strikes, and repunched mint marks, also make 1988 pennies highly collectible. For instance, a double die obverse, where the image of Lincoln's face or lettering appears slightly double due to die misalignment, can increase a coin's value dramatically. Similarly, an off-center strike where part of the design is missing because the planchet was not centered correctly under the dies can turn an ordinary penny into a collector's dream. Even tiny imperfections can carry huge significance. A small die crack, known as a cud, forms when a piece of the die breaks away during production, leaving a raised blob of metal on the coin. These unique features act like fingerprints, making every error coin one of a kind. Some collectors specialize entirely in these error types, studying the tiniest differences to trace minting patterns and historical mint behavior. The 1988 Lincoln penny stands out not only because of its transitional die but also because of its symbolic connection to the end of an era. It was one of the last full years before the major redesigns and metal composition changes that would shape later Lincoln cents. Since 1982, the penny had transitioned from mostly copper to copper-plated zinc, and by 1988, this composition was the new standard. This change in material also contributed to the appearance of minting flaws, as the new zinc core reacted differently to striking pressure and die wear. So, a 1988 penny with pristine detail is already rare, but one with a die transition or mintmark anomaly, that's a once-in-a-lifetime find. Now, consider the monetary aspect. In auctions, coins like these break records because of their condition, rarity, and story. The more dramatic and verifiable the minting error, the more collectors are willing to pay. Some coins start their bidding in the hundreds and escalate into the millions. The fascination with the 1988 Liberty penny has created an entire niche market. Collectors hunt through old rolls, bank boxes, and estate sales hoping to uncover one. My great history lovers, now we are going to another amazing and fascinating journey into the incredible world of rare and valuable coins, where ordinary pocket change can turn into unimaginable fortune. We are diving deep into one of the most mysterious, captivating, and mind-blowing stories in coin collecting history, the story of the 1989 Liberty Lincoln 1-cent coin, a coin so unique and so extraordinary that its estimated worth has reached beyond $30,000 million, making it one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever known. This humble copper-coated penny, with a face value of just 1 cent, has stunned experts, collectors, and historians alike because of its unbelievable errors, mint mark variations, and the secrets it carries from the minting floor more than 3 decades ago. Imagine this: a small coin, one that most people would overlook in a handful of change, holds the potential to be worth more than an entire fortune. That is the incredible reality behind the 1989 Lincoln penny, a coin that represents not just value, but also mystery, transition, and history. When you think about it, every coin tells a story of the nation that minted it, the people who designed it, and the machines that struck it. But sometimes, in the process of perfection, mistakes happen. And those mistakes, those tiny deviations from the norm, are what makes certain coins priceless. The 1989 Lincoln penny is one of those miracles. To understand why this coin has become such a legend, we need to step back in time and look at what was happening in 1989 at the United States Mint. This was a period of transition in coin design and technology. The Lincoln cent had already undergone several changes throughout its history, from its introduction in 1909, designed by Victor David Brenner to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, to the change in composition from copper to zinc in 1982, when pennies began to be made from copper-plated zinc instead of solid bronze. By 1989, the Mint had mastered this new material, but even with precision machinery and skilled mint workers, not every coin came out perfect. Some coins came out different, and those differences are what the coin collecting world lives for. The 1989 Lincoln penny was struck at multiple mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But the version that has gained the most fame, the one that has reached a legendary valuation of over $30 million, is the 1989 D penny, produced at the Denver Mint. It is known not only for its extraordinary minting quality but also for the rare transitional and die errors that make it one of the most intriguing coins in U.S. history. At first glance, the 1989 penny looks just like any other Lincoln cent. It bears the profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, facing right, with the word liberty to his left, the motto "I in God we trust" above his head, and the date 1989 accompanied by the small D mint mark below it, representing the Denver Mint. On the reverse, we see the majestic Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo, with the tiny initials FG placed subtly near the base of the memorial. But within those seemingly normal features lie the clues that separate a common penny from a multi-million-dollar masterpiece. The first and most important element that gives the 1989 penny its immense value is the possibility of a transitional design or die mix-up error. In coin minting, dies are used to strike the coin's image into the blank planchet. Every year, new dies are created to ensure clarity and accuracy. However, sometimes dies from a previous or subsequent year accidentally get mixed into production. When this happens, coins are struck with mismatched designs. For example, a 1988 Obverse die paired with a 1989 reverse die, or vice versa. This kind of minting mistake creates what collectors call a transitional error, and these are among the rarest and most valuable errors in numismatics. One of the most famous cases is the 1988 penny with the 1989 reverse, known as the 1988 reverse of 1989. That coin made headlines for its rarity and incredible value. But few realize that there is an even more elusive counterpart, the 1989 penny with the 1988 reverse. Experts believe that only a handful of these transitional errors were produced, making them almost mythical. The existence of these coins reveals that during the die preparation period between 1988 and 1989, the mint may have accidentally used the wrong reverse die on a small batch of 1989 pennies. How can one tell the difference? It all comes down to tiny details, microscopic differences in the initials FG and the relief of the Lincoln Memorial. On the 1988 reverse, the G in FG has a certain shape and spacing, and the designer's initials are more recessed. On the 1989 reverse, they were re-engraved with a sharper and higher relief. So if a 1989 penny has the earlier FG style, it means it was struck using an older reverse die, a minting mistake that should never have happened. This one small difference transforms an ordinary penny into a historical artifact worth millions. Another feature that adds tremendous value to certain 1989 Lincoln cents is the presence of double die errors. These occur when the die strikes the planchet twice slightly off alignment, causing the lettering or image to appear doubled. Some 1989 pennies show doubling on Lincoln's I, the motto "I in God we trust," or the date. These doubled dies are extremely popular among collectors because they showcase the intricate process of coin production and the rare instances when precision wavered for just a fraction of a millimeter. Then there are mint mark errors. The 1989 D penny, for instance, can have variations in the shape, size, and position of the D mint mark. Some coins show repunched mint marks, where the D appears doubled or slightly offset due to manual punching of the mint mark into the die before it was automated. Others have filled or clogged mint marks, where die grease or debris partially obscures the mint mark during striking. These small imperfections are not mistakes to collectors, they are treasures, each one unique and telling its own story of the minting process. Adding even more mystery are the off-center strikes, broad strikes, and die cracks found on some 1989 pennies. An off-center strike happens when the blank planchet is not perfectly centered in the press during striking, resulting in part of the design missing. A broad strike occurs when the coin is struck without the collar that shapes its edge, causing it to expand slightly. Die cracks appear when the striking die develops fractures over time, transferring raised lines or blobs onto the coins. These errors can make coins stand out as one-of-a-kind collectibles. Collectors are drawn to the 1989 Lincoln cent because it represents an intersection of art, technology, and human error. Each coin is a small work of art, a symbol of Lincoln's enduring legacy and the craftsmanship of the U.S. Mint. When an error occurs, it doesn't diminish the coin's beauty, it enhances it. It transforms it from a simple object of commerce into a tangible piece of history that tells the story of how even the most controlled systems can produce marvels by accident. Now, let's consider why this specific coin, the 1989 Liberty Lincoln cent, has reached such astronomical valuations. The answer lies in its extreme rarity, pristine condition, and the fascination that collectors have with transitional and minting errors. When a coin combines all three, rarity, perfection, and a story, its value skyrockets. There may be only a handful of 1989 pennies in the world that exhibit the transitional reverse, perfect strike, and minimal circulation wear. These are the coins that auction houses and private collectors fight over, driving their price to levels unimaginable for a 1-cent piece. The most pristine known examples are said to be graded by professional organizations such as the Professional Coin Grading Service (PCGS) or the Numismatic Guarantee Company (NGC). A coin graded MS-68 or higher is virtually flawless under magnification. Combine that condition with a transitional error or a unique mint mark anomaly, and you have a coin that becomes a once-in-a-generation discovery. Some experts have speculated that one of these 1989 Liberty cents could theoretically reach or surpass $30 million at private auction due to its combination of perfect condition, historical significance, and rarity, making it a true legend in the coin collecting world. Dear friends, let's go to a fascinating and extraordinary journey into the world of rare and valuable coins, where a tiny piece of metal can hold the power to change someone's life forever. Today, we are exploring one of the most astonishing stories in modern numismatics, one that has stunned collectors, historians, and treasure hunters across the world: the unbelievable tale of the 1990 Liberty Lincoln 1-cent coin. At first glance, it looks just like any other ordinary penny you might find in your pocket or change jar, but this little coin hides mysteries that make it worth far more than anyone could ever imagine. This particular 1990 Lincoln penny is estimated to be worth an incredible $27,000,000 million, not because of the metal it's made from, but because of its extraordinary minting errors, unique mistakes, and the mysterious circumstances that created one of the most valuable coins in American history. Now imagine this for a moment: a simple 1-cent coin. A coin most people ignore, drop on the floor, or toss in a drawer, being valued higher than some of the most famous pieces of art or jewelry. That's the power of a rare coin, especially one that carries secrets from deep inside the United States Mint. And the 1990 Lincoln cent is one such coin that tells a story of human error, mechanical precision, and the perfect accident that turns something ordinary into something legendary. The year 1990 marked a pivotal moment in the evolution of the Lincoln penny. It was a time when technology at the Mint was advancing, the processes were becoming more automated, and precision was the top priority. But even with machines and quality control, the minting process still relied on human oversight, and whenever humans and machines work together, there's always a chance for a rare and beautiful mistake to occur. That is exactly what happened with some of the 1990 Lincoln cents, coins that slipped through with features, details, and errors so rare that they've become treasures worth millions. Let's take a step back and picture what the 1990 Lincoln penny looks like. On the obverse, we have the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, the same design that's been used since 1909. Above Lincoln's head is the motto, "I in God we trust." To the left is the word liberty, and to the right is the date 1990, followed by the small D mint mark indicating it was minted in Denver. The reverse displays the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo, a symbol of unity, remembrance, and national pride. Inside the details of that monument lies the hidden initials FG, a subtle tribute to Gasparo's artistry. Now, while millions of these coins were struck in 1990, what makes a select few so valuable is what went wrong during their creation. At first glance, they may look perfectly normal, but experts and coin graders have discovered that some 1990 Lincoln cents possess subtle, almost invisible differences that separate them from every other coin struck that year. These differences stem from die errors, mint mark mistakes, and transitional design anomalies that occurred during a very specific phase of production. One of the most remarkable stories surrounding the 1990 Lincoln cent involves the no S proof penny. Although that version was struck in San Francisco and not Denver, it became a significant part of the same era of minting confusion. In 1990, the San Francisco Mint accidentally released a number of proof coins without the S mint mark, a major error that made those proofs some of the rarest in modern history. While that specific error didn't occur at the Denver Mint, it highlighted a widespread issue at the time. Mints were transitioning their engraving methods, and mint marks were changing from being hand-punched to being applied directly to master dies. This transition opened the door for a variety of mint mark misplacements, repunching errors, and die mix-ups that could result in one-of-a-kind coins. The Denver Mint, responsible for billions of pennies each year, had the largest output of 1990 Lincoln cents. With so much volume, the tiniest die or machine anomaly could lead to a small batch of coins coming out differently. Imagine, for example, a die prepared with slightly worn details from the previous year's design, or a mintmark punched at the wrong angle, or even a die polished too heavily, removing some design elements. These variations, invisible to the average person, become the foundation of a coin's rarity and extraordinary value in the collector's market. Some 1990 Lincoln pennies have shown signs of being struck with what numismatists call a transitional die. This means the die used to strike the coin's image was either from a different year's design or a modified prototype. These transitional dies can produce coins that mix old and new design elements, creating an anomaly that should never have existed. For instance, the designer's initials, the shape of Lincoln's jacket lines, or the position of lettering could all differ slightly from the standard 1990 dies. These small but distinct differences make the coin unique, turning it into an item of incredible historical importance. But beyond transitional errors, there are also examples of 1990 pennies with doubling, specifically double die errors. A double die occurs when the die itself receives two impressions that are slightly misaligned during its preparation. When such a die strikes blank planchets, it transfers a doubled image onto the coins. On the 1990 Lincoln cent, some collectors have reported doubling visible on the date, the letters of liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust." These doubled features, though minor to the untrained eye, can dramatically raise a coin's value. A sharp, distinct doubled die with clear separation lines can transform an ordinary penny into a piece worth thousands, and in some cases, when combined with other rare features, millions. Then there are mintmark variations, small details that can make a big difference. The D mintmark on the 1990 penny was applied using newer methods, but during the transition, inconsistencies occurred. Some mintmarks appear slightly filled in, known as a filled D error, caused by die polishing or debris blocking part of the mintmark cavity. Others show signs of repunching, where the mintmark appears doubled or offset. These mintmark anomalies are beloved by collectors because they provide visible proof of the human touch in an otherwise mechanical process. Another highly collectible type of 1990 penny involves off-center strikes and broad strikes. An off-center strike happens when the blank planchet isn't seated correctly in the press, resulting in a coin where part of the design is missing. Broad strikes occur when the coin is struck without the restraining collar, causing it to expand outward. Each of these minting mishaps produces a one-of-a-kind piece. While most off-center coins are immediately noticed and destroyed by mint inspectors, a few escape into circulation, and those are the ones that collectors prize. The material composition of the penny itself also contributes to possible variations. By 1990, Lincoln cents were primarily copper-plated zinc, a combination that presented new challenges for minting. The thin copper coating could sometimes blister, bubble, or separate due to heat or pressure inconsistencies during the striking process. This led to coins with surface irregularities, sometimes called bubbles or lamination errors. In extreme cases, parts of the copper layer flaked away, exposing the grayish zinc core beneath. These errors, while technically defects, are incredibly interesting to collectors because they demonstrate how even modern minting technology isn't immune to small imperfections. Some 1990 Lincoln cents have also been discovered with die cracks, thin raised lines that appear on the coin's surface due to fractures in the die. When a die begins to wear out or crack under high pressure, these imperfections transfer directly onto the coins. Die cracks often form around the rim, the lettering, or Lincoln's bust. Each die crack pattern is unique, making these coins individual artifacts of the minting process. A prominent die crack can sometimes be nicknamed, such as the spiked head or broken nose varieties, depending on where the crack appears. Now, what truly makes this coin so valuable is the perfect storm of all these possibilities coming together: a transitional design error, doubled die, mintmark anomaly, and uncirculated condition. When such features are found together in one coin, its rarity is beyond measure. The 1990 penny that carries these traits represents a convergence of art, history, and pure chance.